The best part about us reading all of these chapter ones and kind of getting a taste test of what's in Shonen Jump currently is really revisiting some of my old favorites. It was an absolute joy to reread Hunter x Hunter chapter 1.
I liked it so much, and I'm very happy that we're rereading it too.
I know. Is this just leading to another Hunter x Hunter reread? I've been on such a manga hype recently and reading so much. It's been a lot of fun.
It doesn't look like that it's actually on the app though. Just the first chapter preview was.
Yeah, I have all the print versions here. Sadly, you don't have them. I actually read the print copy for this, but yeah, I think the first thing that stuck out to me about this chapter was the amazing background art and his creature art. Togashi's art is really something special. I think that the way that he does his line work, it looks so effortless, and it looks like each line is exactly where it should be. Especially on images of Gon, there's just this beautiful balance to Gon where he's so childlike and so mature at the same time, which is the progression in this first chapter, is him crossing the threshold and leaving his aunt.
Yeah, I also wrote down that I love the art, although I do know that the artist isn't super reliable as far as quality goes.
Hey, we're not talking about the Hunter x Hunter hiatuses. We're not talking about the Hunter x Hunter dips in quality and or storytelling. We're talking about chapter 1.
Yeah, right when you open, you see him fishing, and that scene of him sitting there is so cool.
And I can perfectly picture it.
Yeah, I know.
The leaves sitting on his hat.
The tree, there's a tree in the background.
Which has this implication that he's been sitting there for so long in order to catch this fish.
Such a short scene, but you get so much.
The way that he draws leaves and foliages, I just love. In the illustration that I did, I tried to pull some of that in the trees and in the bushes. The conflict in this first chapter is between Gon and his aunt Mito, where his aunt has promised him that she'll allow him to go do his hunter exam if he...
Basically, she gave him a task that she thought he would never complete, because she doesn't want him to go.
She doesn't want him to go because she fears for him, and she always has for his entire life. And I really like the way that she's depicted as his guardian. She is the adult, the responsible one in the relationship. But the way that she's acting and the way that she's trying to cling and hold on to Gon to try to not let him leave on his journey shows her immaturity.
But then she apologizes for doing that.
It's a complete character arc, and I know that you see snips of Aunt Mito later in the series, but I really feel like this shows her as she is. One of my favorite scenes was when he comes back into the room after they have a fight, and she's just sitting there with a pile of beer bottles and alcohol, and she says something hurtful to him.
His father abandoned, yeah.
Yeah, and Gon just calmly responds that
being a hunter isn't for weaklings, Aunt Mito. Being a hunter must be an important job, so important that family comes second.
What happens in this scene is that Gon realizes... He kind of comes to the same conclusion that his father did. He's searching for his father, and he's also making, from Aunt Mito's perspective, the same mistake as his father, leaving her for a life of adventure. But that's the kind of like the beauty of this first chapter, is that he is taking his life into his own hands. He's showing his own maturity and saying, I've decided to go off on this adventure, and I want you to give me permission, because that's what you said, and you should stand by your words, you know? And he kind of wants to leave on good terms with her, but he's leaving, and that's just what he's decided. And I don't want to go all high school lit on this, but from the hero's journey perspective, this covers the beginning of him crossing the threshold and finally leaving to his magical adventure from his homeland.
Yeah.
He has to get permission from the guardian. I think that's the phrasing in the hero's journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great start of the story. He literally steps on a boat and leaves his island that he's grown up on.
Maybe some people don't like this as much about Hunter x Hunter. I enjoy this. The definition of what a hunter is, or what his journey will entail, is so vague. And what that vagueness leads to is the ability for basically anything to happen in the story.
Yeah, does he actually hunt animals? He can't be friends with animals, apparently.
I think the first chapter, it almost has a One Piece-esque opening where it kind of explains
this mysterious figure who comes and saves the young boy who has a father who's a renowned expert in a field.
Well, you don't know who Luffy's father is.
Hmm.
When I say One Piece-esque, I was actually referring to simply the first page where it has all these images of what hunters do, and it says that they're kind of treasure hunters, that they go to the ends of the earth, they find mysterious animals, and there is this vagueness to it. You're like, so hunters do whatever? And that's kind of what happens in the series too.
They're adventurers.
Yeah. I've always wanted to reread through Hunter x Hunter, but pay really closely to like what the Hunter license entails, because I feel it gives way too much power. It's weird because all the characters get so strong that it's almost like they level up beyond the Hunter's license. I'm a huge Hunter x Hunter fan. I would give the series a 5 out of 5, especially the Greed Island arc and the Chimera Ant arc. Those were always my favorite. But this first chapter I gave a 4 out of 5. It was absolutely great and I loved it, but I just know that the series can reach such greater heights.
I gave it a 5 out of 5. Great first chapter.
Ooh, 5 out of 5. That's your first 5 out of 5. How exciting.
Is it really?
Let's move on to our next series then. I mean, we both love Hunter x Hunter. That's not really news. Everybody loves Hunter x Hunter. So the next series that we read was Jujutsu Kaisen. This is a series that neither of us have read before.
Although it's really long. I'm surprised because I'd never heard of it, but it has 100 chapters. Kind of surprising.
It's really long and really popular, actually. I was also surprised too. I think maybe we hadn't heard about it because I don't think that there's an anime adaptation yet. I had seen it at the bookstore.
I've been out of the country too long.
Jujutsu Kaisen kind of opens up with this school slice of life. We've got Yuji, this really strong, call him like principled boy who is in this kerfuffle between the occult club and the track team.
In the end, that whole thing doesn't make any sense anyways.
The beginning kind of baffled me because I was expecting more, but it's just this really mundane school conversations. I guess it's the slow build to the ghosts that get unleashed later in the series. It transitions from this slice of life school scene into Yuji going to visit his grandfather who's on his deathbed. While Yuji is still trying to process what's happened to him, this black-haired spirit detective...
Did they give him a title? I don't remember that.
I have no idea. It was really vague to me what this character...
An exorcist? I guess.
Megami is being instructed by a third party to go find and investigate this cursed object which the occult club has. Now, the confusing thing to me in this first chapter is that he walks onto the rugby field on the school, which was previously identified as having ghost activity, and he sees this giant ghost.
Yeah, like a giant termite hanging out on the rugby field.
It had echoes of like bugs and dogs in it. It was
like a mite. Nasty.
And at that point, I was kind of wondering, like, is his job to fight spirits? Like, should he have fought that spirit at that point? Or is he really he's just here for the finger, I think. Like, he basically ignores that and then just goes for the finger.
Yeah, I guess it's not that big of a deal that there was a giant bug out on the field.
I was having a tough time following that character and what he's about because I couldn't get a sense of what his job really was. If it's not to fight monsters, obviously this will be resolved, but...
I wasn't bothered at all by any of this. The whole second half I'm fine with. It's just that the whole struggle at the beginning was about how he's joined the occult club, and he's come to like the occult club just fine. But he was told to join a different club, but he can't because he needs to go and visit his grandfather in the hospital by 5 o'clock every day. But literally, he walks into the hospital and his granddad dies right there. So I guess that, he doesn't need to go home by 5 o'clock anymore.
So now he can join the occult club.
Well, no, that wasn't it. Now he can join the track team.
Oh, he doesn't want to join the track team, though. The weird match between this bogus slice of life stuff with the more interesting action ghost stuff was pretty funny.
Uh-huh.
When I first read this series, I kept on thinking that I just really want this series to be like Scooby-Doo, where it's just him and the occult club solving all these occult mysteries together and getting into these hijinks with this exorcist guy. But honestly, now thinking back on it, I thought that the conversations with the occult club and their dynamic was kind of my least favorite part of the series. I was much more interested in like the horror, so maybe I don't want it to be like Scooby-Doo. Maybe I take back that thought.
Yeah, I definitely preferred the end of the chapter versus the beginning. Like, if the 2 occult club members never came back, it'd be okay.
So the ghosts start attacking. Some of the scenes where the ghosts were attacking the character, especially this one picture of the girl from the occult club being engulfed in these monsters that are wrapping around her. I really enjoyed those illustrations, and I think that it wasn't scary.
Sometimes it would be like disgusting or gross, but yeah, not terrifying.
I think it has to do with the show don't tell rule of horror, where if you just show the scary monster, you'll have that reaction of disgust, but you won't feel scared because you can see it and you know it. The real horror is feeling like there's something that you can't see or something that the characters can't see.
I think they tried to do that. They mentioned how if they touch the finger, they'll die, and then they go to the scene where she's opening up the seal on the finger, and so you're like, oh no, she's gonna die.
At that point, it was so set on course that you knew that that was going to happen, that they were going to do something with the finger, that I didn't feel tension because I could just see exactly what was going to happen next. There was an uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that the characters weren't gonna die, although that would have been...
That would have been crazy.
Dude, if the occult members got killed in the first chapter...
Dang! I really liked the shadow puppet jutsu. I think it's very cool. He makes a little dog, dogs come out. He tries to make little birds, but then he fails.
There's another character in Chainsaw Man who has that power as well, and I'm down for it. I'm down for all shadow puppet no jutsus, you know? The final scene is Yuji just slamming that finger into his mouth.
Right down the gullet.
He hears from Megami
that they want to eat it to get power.
So he's like, power? That's what I want to save my friends.
Gulp.
So he just swallows it.
I really like that scene where he's wigging out and his eyes are all popped out.
Yeah, he almost looks frog-like and his skin gets all tattooed. I'm very curious to see how, like, I don't know, like, because there's a few ways that this could go. I think that the direction that's most likely to happen is that Yuji and then this evil spirit will share a body, and maybe he'll be like kind of a rogue character where sometimes the evil spirit takes over and you're like, oh no, Yuji's really strong and now he's possessed by this evil spirit, and then other times Yuji will take over and he'll have this curse power that will give him strength. That's an interesting dynamic, and if that's the direction that it goes, I'm interested.
Yeah, just in general, I thought it was really cool. I liked reading it. I didn't think much of the whole beginning, but I like the cursed objects. I liked the visuals at the very end with him becoming an evil spirit. I don't know what they're called at all.
He becomes a curse.
That's right, that's right. I gave it a 4 out of 5.
You know, I gave it a 2 out of 5.
Harsh.
Yeah, I know. That was mostly just because I didn't connect 100% with Yuji. I thought that the waffling about the occult club versus the track team in the beginning wasn't very interesting. I think that that's like a soft 2 out of 5. It's more towards a 3. I could see myself enjoying the series in the future, especially if it's just a bunch of wacky ghost battles. I'm down for that if that's what the series is.
Comment down below and tell us how much you love Hunter x Hunter as well.
What if there's a lone commenter that just hates Hunter x Hunter and they're disgusted on our takes about Gon and Aunt Mito?
Tell us what your favorite story arc in Hunter x Hunter was.
Yes, perfect ending. Thanks for listening, and let us know if we're totally off base on Jujutsu Kaisen or not.
And stop.